Eoin Dooley is my name, and I'm an agricultural inspector in the Integrated Controls Division in Portlaoise, and I'm currently working on the new area monitoring system. My slides are going to go through why it's required, what it entails, how we make decisions, the data behind those decisions, and what it means then, what the results mean, and how farmers engage with those results. So the area monitoring system, or the AMS, it's in the new CAP, it's now mandatory. It's a legal requirement. All member states in the EU have signed up to this. There is a transitional period for its introduction. And what I mean by that is that in the regulations, they have specified that we, as a paying agency, have to introduce AMS in 2023 for just 2 schemes, that's BIS and ANC. We have additionally added the protein aid scheme and the strong incorporation measure to that. So we will be monitoring 4 schemes in 2023 under the AMS. In addition to that transitional period, we did introduce what they called checks by monitoring in 2021 for the protein aid scheme, and continued that in 22 and added the strong incorporation measure. Some of you may be familiar with the checks by monitoring approach. It was quite successful, and it paved the way for the area monitoring system. So this new AMS replaces the 5% on-the-spot check land eligibility inspections that would have been in place for the last number of years. And instead of having 5% on-the-spot checks, there's 100% area monitoring checks now carried out on all scheme applicants for those 4 schemes that I mentioned. So in the regs, the AMS is defined as a regular and systematic observation. So it's something that's happening on a regular period. It's tracking and assessment of agricultural activities and practices on agricultural areas. So it will be tracking activities that take place within land parcels that are declared as part of those schemes. And it's by Copernicus Sentinel satellite data, or data with at least equivalent value. So the Copernicus Sentinel satellite data is the main driver or the workhorse behind the area monitoring system. There are 6 sets of satellites in the Copernicus Sentinel family. It's a European Space Agency project. It's funded by the European Union. The area monitoring system uses Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 satellites. Sentinel-1 consists of 2 satellites. They're polar orbiting, which means they're at either side of the Earth and they're moving around. They have a revisit time around Ireland of 5 days. So that means every 5 days there is data captured from Sentinel-1 for Ireland. The first of those satellites was sent up in 2014 and the second was sent up in 2016. The data captured by Sentinel-1, it's a radar sensor, so it's not something that you can understand with the naked eye. You need computer algorithms and software to understand what the data means. The second satellite that the AMS will use, or the data the AMS will use, comes from Sentinel-2. This is an optical sensor, or it's a sensor that captures, if you like, a photograph. Again, there's 2 satellites in this constellation. It revisits again every 5 days. But the negative with Sentinel-1 or Sentinel-2 over Sentinel-1 is that Sentinel-2, which is the photograph sensor, if you like, or the optical sensor, is impaired by clouds. So if it's a cloudy day, this sensor does not capture any data, whereas Sentinel-1 does. Those 2 satellites, the resolution that it captures the data at is quite coarse. Sentinel-1, the resolution is 30 meters, which means that every pixel that's captured represents 30 meters on the ground, which is quite large, and Sentinel-2 is 10 meters. Just to put that into context, the maps that farmers would have received, or applicants would have received in the last couple of weeks for their BIS, potential BIS applications, the imagery is quite similar to what you see in the top left of the screen, and that's a blue sky image with 25 centimeter resolution. Compare that same area to a Sentinel-2 10-meter resolution, and you can quickly see that it's quite coarse. It's not going to give the same clarity as the high-resolution aerial or plane captured photography that we send out with the maps in the post. Underneath the 2 of those, we have a Sentinel-1 data capture for the same area. It was captured at 30 centimeters. It's been refined to 20 here, but you can quickly see that this is not something that the naked eye can understand. It's something that requires, as I said, specialist software. And it's not that this data is of lesser quality. It is, but the big, I suppose, positive from the Sentinel data is that it's openly available. It's captured every 5 days if there's no clouds for Sentinel-2, and every 5 days for Sentinel-1, and it's freely available. And if anybody has any interest in looking at their own areas, just earlier here today, I typed in Portlaoise into Sentinel Play Hub. So into any search engine, type in Sentinel Play Hub, Sentinel Playground, and this screen that you see here will appear. And then the top right hand, there's a search option. I put in Portlaoise, and you can see the town of Portlaoise there and the areas around it. So the further you zoom out, the much clearer it could get. But as you start zooming in, it gets very coarse. Just if anybody's interested, there's a calendar option here. You can click on it. Now this is not live, so I can't click on it, but in there then it will show you all of the available images for that particular satellite that you can select over here. You can select cloud cover. So if there's an area that's covered by cloud, you can set it to pick up an area that's to pick up an image that's less than 20, and it'll show you all the available images right back as far as 2015 for that area. Okay, and that's open source, freely available, and anybody can view it. So the area monitoring system then, there's two approaches, if you like, or there's two kind of steps to the system. It's, first of all this is fully automated until we get to the very end when a full decision has to be made. But the first part of the approach is that when the application is assessed after the preliminary check state, the parcels associated with the application are evaluated against the delineated area or against the parcel boundary that's declared. It firstly looks at, is there a change in the crop type that was declared? So it is declared arable, is it arable? Declared permanent grassland or declared permanent crop. Has there been a change in that? Presence of ineligible structures. Ineligible structures are farmyards, farm roads, buildings, house sites, etc. If the system picks up one of these, the applicant may get a warning notification and or an alert and through the BIS online account. And lastly, the presence of ineligible land use. So by picking up any of these three, the farmer may get an AMS notification. I'll go through what those are now in a second. The second part of the area monitoring system will look at the activities that take place inside in those parcels. So there was an arable crop declared. Do we see a bare soil event? Do we see a crop maturity event? Do we see a harvesting event? Do we see a sowing event, etc.? When it comes to permanent grassland, do we see grazing events, grass cutting events, etc.? And when we see those, then we assign a traffic light color to a parcel. There's two main approaches. The AMS results, well, first of all, I would just like to bring you back to what I mentioned at the very start. The area monitoring system is going to monitor 100% of applications. That's different than what was previously there. Previously, it was a 5% on-the-spot check. About 4% of those, 80% of that 5% was remote sensing inspections using high-resolution imagery, and the remaining were Department of Agriculture inspectors inspecting on the ground. They would have kicked off sometime mid-June and carried on then for the summer and had to be completed before the payment dates. When we now look at what is in place, or the system that's there now, sorry, did I breeze over that? Sorry, it's gone. I did have a slide there on the area monitoring system, but basically the area monitoring system, it's for the entire calendar year, but that does not mean that we have it started right now. We have to wait till all the applications come in, and then the system will access the data that's captured by the European Space Agency through the satellites, and then use that data at specific periods or time frames to make decisions on scheme applications. The results of that will be made available to every scheme applicant. The first set of results will be made available in mid-August this year, So every applicant at that stage will have an area monitoring system screen on their BIS online account, and in there they can see the status of each of those parcels. A second set of results will be displayed in mid-September, and final results for SIM and protein in mid-October. In addition to that, the area monitoring system will look for ineligible features, and if there is an ineligible feature detected in mid-June, those farmers will get a notification through the area monitoring screens as well. The results are in a traffic light system. Green means that the eligibility conditions for that particular scheme have been met. So declared permanent grassland or permanent pasture, found permanent pasture, and then found an activity such as grazing or mowing of grass. Inclusive means that the system, the area monitoring system, which is a highly automated system, monitoring 1.3 million parcels for almost 130,000 applicants, at that particular point in time, using the information from the satellites, we just do not have enough information to make a conclusive decision. So we just need more time to make a more conclusive decision. There is nothing to worry about from a farmer's point of view or an applicant's point of view for yellow parcels. It simply means the system needs more time, okay? And if it is yellow the whole way through the year, right up until payments, that parcel will be paid on. It's not the fault of the farmer, it's just that we do not have enough information coming from the satellites. On the other hand, if a parcel is presented with a red status on any of those 3 occasions during the year, the farmer will also get a notification through their BIS online account and a text message if they're signed up for text messages, and their advisor will also get a notification if their advisor is signed up to them. That notification then, once they log into AgFood, the applicant will be guided through what that notification means. So this is an automated processing. So that means there's no human involvement in actually looking at these images. There's way too much data to go through. There is markers and algorithms and crop classification systems and models in place to understand what's happening behind all of this data. So for example, we see at the top of the screen there a bare soil event with a crop starting to emerge. The system will pick up that that's a bare soil event. It will pick up then at the second image, a crop starting to mature. The fourth image down is animals grazing. Over time, it will pick up where grass has been grazed. Grass has been cut for silage or for hay or taken away for zero grazing, things like that. It picks up these events. Once it picks up those events and the parcel crop claim is correct, the parcels go green. If the system does not pick up an activity, for example, grazing, or picks up the wrong crop, the parcel will go red. And as I said, the alert or the request is sent to the farmer through the online account and their text message. And from there, they can engage with the system, which the screens will be very easy to flow through, and use the department's geotagged photo application to back up their claim or to change or amend their claim if that's appropriate without penalty at that time. And from there, the parcel may go green. In addition to that, we did carry out an analysis with recent Sentinel-2 imagery to pick up artificial surfaces that are in LIPUS parcels that were declared in 2022. They're still there for parcels that were declared in 2022. Examples of these artificial surfaces are farm roads, farmyards, farmyard extensions, house sites. Farmers that have one of these parcels with an artificial surface will get a letter in the coming weeks, and that letter will simply outline, we believe that there's an artificial surface in this parcel. It was declared by you last year. If you're going to declare it this year, please mark off the house site, the farmyard, etc. In addition to that, all advisors are aware of this artificial feature check. So when they're going through BIS applications, ensure that they pass through that parcel and mark it off. And that's just what should you do if you get one of these letters. The first and foremost thing to do, or the most important thing to do, is ensure that the area is mapped out. If the area is not mapped out correctly, the area monitoring system may pick that up again, and you'll get a notification in June. And just, it's not, I suppose over the last number of years, if there was a new farm road went in or a new building, farmyard extensions, there was the, I suppose, tendency to just drop the claimed area to represent that. From now on, that's perfectly good dropping the claimed area, but we must also mark it out on the system, okay, as in redline it out and call it, it's now part of the farmyard. Those artificial feature checks, just a few screenshots on what they look like. We can quite seriously, now this is a high resolution imagery. It's a 2022 imagery that is recently acquired by the department. We can see a house site in the top left-hand corner. The satellite data looks like this, okay? So it's not as if we can see that the house is being built, but this is an amalgamation of very recent Sentinel-2 imagery, and the system then was able to pick up artificial features, and you can see there that it's got a black color in the top right hand corner. This particular parcel, the applicant from last year then will get a notification, and that notification will simply say, we think there's an artificial surface there, please mark it out when you're making your BIS application. Another example, artificial feature check, declared as permanent pasture. This is what the Sentinel-2 recent data, when I say recent data, it was amalgamation of the last couple of months' data, now shows, and we can see that it is an industrial site. Other examples of parcels that may go red for 2023, the top two images, one is a Sentinel image, so you can see it's quite pixelated, it's very blurry. We're not going to see tractors, machines moving across the field, etc., but we will over time understand what crops are growing, and also if there is ineligible features or ineligible land use in that parcel. And we can clearly see here when we look at a high resolution image, now this is an older image, we can see that there's not just a house, part of a house site, but there's also a garden in that parcel. So the area monitoring system will pick up that and the farmer will get a red notification. That doesn't mean that there's a penalty going to be applied. What that means is if you engage with the system, mark off this, send back in or reduce the claim, there is no penalty within 15 days before the advance payment. Examples of other red parcels where the wrong crop is declared. So that's a picture of spring beans. So if spring beans was declared, the system pulls out or does not think that it's spring beans, the farmer will get a notification. And at that stage, you can go in and it may be a genuine mistake and change the crop type to whatever is on the ground. That may be spring barley. And the last type of a red notification for 23 is where we have multiple crops in the one land parcel. And in here, this one, we can see 3. Lastly, then, how does somebody engage with the system? They will use agri-snap. Stephen's coming on in a second to give you an outline on what agri-snap involves, but that's how you back up your claim. So it does, just because the AMS has turned the parcel red, that doesn't mean that it's 100% right. The system may be wrong or the crop may have been sown late, but agri-snap is there then to allow a farmer to reject the department's finding, say that it is spring beans, and then a request will be sent to their phone and they can send in a photograph, and that will turn the parcel green from there, once there's spring beans in the photograph, of course. Lastly, just a quick summary on the area monitoring system. First of all, there's a lot of positives with this new system. It's going to allow farmers to change, amend, withdraw their application for particular parcels right up until 15 days before the advance payment for ANC and BIS. And from there, potentially significantly reduce the number of penalties that could be in place. So lastly, the most important things to remember from the area monitoring point of view is that claim the correct area, claim the correct parcel use, deduct any ineligible features and areas, and not just by dropping the claimed area, but by delineating them or drawing them out with the online system. And I think most importantly, if there is correspondence sent through the BIS online accounts to farmers, respond promptly. And that means then there is much less chance of delayed payments, etc. Thank you very much, and I will go through the questions in a few minutes.